In any given year, 1 in 5 Canadians experience a mental illness.
Experiencing increased levels of exhaustion.
Anxiety has increased by 135%.
They're struggling more with their mental health.
Studies have also shown that the mental health of immigrants tends to worsen with time spent in Canada.
I kind of made the mistake of having like an expectation of what it was going to be like.
Getting my visa was a pain. It's really hard to adapt.
Here at Moving to Canada, our ethos is to help those who want to live and work in Canada. So, obviously, we must think it's a great place to live. We shout from the rooftops, day in and day out, about how amazing a life in Canada can be. But we want to make sure that we give you the full picture, to allow you to make an informed decision. Moving to another country can be tough, like really, really tough. And we don't think that that part is talked about enough. Certainly not explicitly anyway. In fact, even finding official data on the mental health of immigrants for this video has proven insanely difficult. All of that brings us to today, where we're going to look at some of the unique challenges immigrants face when it comes to their mental health in Canada. We'll be chatting to some of you folks and even sitting down with an expert to talk about looking after your mental health as a newcomer. Speaking of looking after your mental health, I wanted to take a moment to thank the sponsor of today's video, Cigna Global Health, an insurance company that I've known about since I landed in Canada, and one of the few that I know of that includes mental health cover as part of their core plan. Cigna has been ahead of the competition in recognising the need for healthcare insurance that isn't just designed to treat your broken bones or your ambulance trips, which is why I wanted to talk to you about their International Health and Wellbeing module, for people who want to go one step further in protecting their mental health. The module includes cover for counselling, CBT therapy, wellness coaching that can help you with your nutrition, fitness or sleep goals, along with career building tools like Manager Assist, which supports managers looking to develop their people management skills, along with so much more. Cigna recognises that taking care of your mental health is multifaceted, and the best way to set yourself up for success is to be proactive in your approach. So, thank you Cigna for sponsoring this video and supporting this channel and our members. If you want to get your free quote for Cigna Health Insurance today, then all you have to do is click the link in the description of this video. But I've been talking enough. Let's hear what you folks have to say.
My name is Lauren, I am Irish, I'm from Wexford. I arrived on Friday, so just 3 days ago.
My name is Jason, I'm from Indonesia and I moved to Canada back in 2018.
My name is Wyatt, I'm from Washington State, so just south of the border.
Sebastian, I'm from Trinidad and Tobago.
From South Korea.
What surprised you, Alonso, when you made the move? What was more difficult than you expected it to be?
Studying in different language is actually really stressful.
I felt like the homesick was really real for me.
I think at the start it was overwhelming. The first week I got here, I was like, what am I after doing?
Finding a job was kind of difficult for the first 3 months.
How would you have rated your mental health when you moved to Canada?
But I would say a 4.
When I moved, I'd say maybe I was at like a 4-ish maybe.
I think my mental health's kind of grand before I left Ireland, like no complaints or nothing.
I think right now, because of stress in the school and everything.
Because everyone tells you when you move here it's going to be the best thing ever, you're not going to regret it, but like no one tells you that like there is actually a bit of a struggle at the start before you find your feet.
This was extremely difficult and stressful.
So I think it's fair to say that newcomers to Canada have some additional stresses on their plate, between finding a new home, making new friends, or maybe even overcoming a language barrier. And look, while the rewards might be worth it for many in the long run, we really shouldn't underestimate the toll that it takes on people, or ignore that there are resources available to help those of us during the transition. Which actually brings us to the next question. What can we do about it to prepare ourselves for the big move? We are here with one of Vancouver's leading counsellors who is an expert in all things newcomers and their experience, Siobhan. Siobhan, would you like to introduce yourself properly to the masses?
Hi, I'm Siobhan Montgomery. I'm a registered professional counselling candidate. I started my own practice, Montgomery Counselling, in September of 2022, and I'm really excited to be here.
Amazing, we're excited to have you. So let's stuck in.
Perfect.
Siobhan, we have been looking into the current state of mental health in Canada and how it's affecting newcomers in particular. So maybe we can talk a little bit about kind of Canada-wide, any knowledge that you have, statistics or your own personal experience first,
and then we can jump into a little bit more about newcomer specific.
So right now, statistically, about 1 in 5 Canadians, Canadian residents, suffer with mental health issues or mental health struggles.
1 in 5?
1 in 5, yeah.
Wow.
And substance use problems, depression, anxiety. There's an increase in financial stress on people's lives, especially with the cost of living and how that has impacted everyone.
Some of the research that we've done for this video has led us down paths for the mental health of newcomers, but it has been fairly limited in what we can find. With regards to your own clientele, how many of them are actually newcomers?
With my clientele, I would say approximately 80% of them are newcomers.
Wow.
Yeah, and maybe 30% of those would have arrived in the last, say, 6 to 12 months to Canada.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, so a huge percentage. In my experience, they face a lot of struggles around finding accommodation and finding employment and finding their community here, and they're away from home, and many for the first time, so they're missing the support that they normally have. They don't have their family and their friends and loved ones on hand, and you know, they may feel really isolated and alone in all of that, which can be a huge challenge for newcomers, and really one of the most common ones that I see. Sometimes there's almost a guilt in reaching out for support with their struggles because they feel, you know, I made the choice to move here, so kind of this is on me, and I do feel that sometimes there's like a little bit of guilt there in that, well, I should just suck it up or like push through it.
Yeah. You don't want to let anyone know that you're potentially not feeling great about the choice that you've made.
Yeah. And their way of seeing it for many is like, well, I chose to come here, so, you know, I should just get on with it in a sense.
What is available for newcomers, particularly ones who might be dealing with mental health or mental illness related issues, for prescription medication? How does it affect them when they come over?
So that can be a challenging one. It is extremely difficult, especially in Vancouver, to secure a family doctor. It's usually like a waiting list, and you may be waiting anywhere up to a year or 2 years to get a family doctor. A lot of times people will need to go to walk-in clinics, and with that experience, the doctor that you're meeting with is a once-off and doesn't know your history, doesn't know anything about your health or your mental health. With regards to cost, it can be extremely costly for people coming here who are taking a prescribed medication, who don't have prescriptions and need to go through that process. So it can be challenging, especially if you take prescribed medications which you're trying to get in Canada.
Yeah. Now, we do have some articles that we'll link below about bringing your prescription to Canada, but what you're saying is so totally valid, and it's something that does get overlooked so frequently. Hypothetically, let's create a situation that you're a newcomer who's come to the country, your prescription medication has just run out and you need a refill. Have you any idea what that process might look like without a family doctor, how you can go about getting that refilled?
So for newcomers, that would look like securing an appointment with a walk-in clinic or with one of the health apps. And in that, you're usually meeting with a doctor who is a once-off. So it's not somebody who's going to have any of your medical history. You may have to provide them with records or connections to your doctor back home or where you've moved from. Getting your prescription can be extremely costly in that if you don't have insurance when you first come here, depending on the medication that you're being prescribed, it can be extremely expensive. It can be a huge cost on people.
Siobhan, on newcomer accessing prescription medication, is there any types of medication that they might more commonly access in their home country that is more difficult to access here or more expensive that might be a shock to them?
There definitely is. So depending on the country that you come from, if you have coverage and insurance, you may not pay as much for your medication here. With medications for things such as depression, the cost there is not as high, especially if you take a generic option. You're looking somewhere between $20 to $50 a month, maybe, with the generic option for depression medication. If you're diagnosed with an anxiety disorder, the medication for that is much more costly in Canada. You're looking at anywhere from $400 upwards per month.
$400 a month for anxiety medication,
which can be extremely expensive if you don't have insurance or coverage.
Extremely anxiety-inducing.
Exactly, yeah.
That's wild.
It is. It can be really stressful, and a lot of people just can't afford that. So for newcomers, that's something that, if you are taking medication for anxiety, it's something that you want to make sure that you have enough of, or you have resources there prior to moving.
Yeah, of course. And you know, to enter Canada on certain work permits and visas, you will have to get insurance. So maybe finding one that does provide the coverage for mental health, mental illness, or prescription medication is really key. And looking into that before you get here. $400 a month.
Yeah, it's really expensive. Any anxiety medications in Canada are crazy expensive.
Let's say you're a newcomer to the country and you're experiencing the need for some kind of help. What resources do you know that are available for someone to access?
So some of the resources that are available for people, one of the biggest ones I know is Wellness Together Canada, which is a free text service, and that's available 24 hours for people who may be struggling or just may need someone to talk to. Another one is the Adler Centre, and what that is that's low-cost counselling by counselling interns, so new graduates, and they offer like lower rates, or they can also offer a sliding scale. Another huge resource is canada.ca. They actually list a lot of services on their website in regards to, like, if you're in crisis, there's a support, 24-hour contact phone numbers, centres that you can walk into if there's somebody you need to see immediately. There's a suicide hotline. So canada.ca is a really big one. They'll give you a multitude of options, especially for newcomers within Canada.
Which is really important, and we'll link to canada.ca below, as well as all the other resources you provided. And one of the big takeaways from that, though, is if you are experiencing an emergency and you need to access any of these services quickly, there is an emergency line which we'll put down here. So please don't wait to access that if you have to. That is absolutely essential. Which I think brings us to a perfect conclusion. And I just want to say thank you so much for sitting down with us today and talking about a topic that certainly we don't feel is covered enough for newcomers. And we will, of course, be leaving all of Siobhan's details if you do want to reach out to her directly to avail of her services in the description of this video.
Thank you for having me, Stephen. It was lovely to be here.
Lovely to have you too. My chat with Siobhan really got me thinking about my own experience as a newcomer to Canada. I don't think I realised it at the time, but I've been extremely lucky in my Canadian journey. However, my story is just one of millions, and I knew if I wanted to get a real insight into the newcomer experience, I had to talk to someone else who made the move over at the same time as me, but doesn't quite have the same love for the country. I had to talk to Jack.
Good morning, join me on my first full day here in Vancouver, Canada. Welcome to my first week in Vancouver. So it's almost been 6 months. Here's some things I wish I knew before I moved to Vancouver, Canada from Wales in the UK. So I guess now I can say that I am, after a year of living in Vancouver, moving back to the UK.
This is Jack. Hey. So for anyone who doesn't quite know who Jack is after that amazing montage, would you like to introduce yourself properly?
Yes, so my name's Jack. I originally come from Wales in the UK, and I moved to Vancouver, Canada this time last year. I moved in March last year, and I've been documenting it on YouTube.
One video in particular of Jack's journey went viral, and even got picked up by a few online publications, which is actually where I first saw it. And some of the comments weren't too kind about what Jack had to say about his new home.
I wanted to share a very authentic experience, and I touched a nerve because I think people don't like it when you talk about their country in a way that they aren't going to really like.
Yes.
They can talk about how they don't like it,
yeah.
But when you've just moved here, you're kind of seen as...
You don't have a right to talk about
yes,
it yet.
Yeah. And so, so I learned a lesson by that, but I wanted just to share a very true to our situation story of how hard we were finding it and how hard the year had been, because when I shared that, it was coming up to my year anniversary of moving here.
Jack spoke a lot about the highs and lows of moving to a new country on our walk, but it was obvious to me that one particular issue influenced his Canadian experience above all else. So Jack, one of the things that you spoke about in your TikTok was that your partner James hasn't been able to find work for the year you guys have been here. How has that affected you?
It's been a massive influence on how our experience here has gone, which is why I'm so careful to say, like, it's completely personal and circumstantial. You're going to have a completely different experience than I had, but our experience has been heavily influenced by my partner James not finding any work, which when you say that on paper it sounds like he hasn't gone for interviews or anything, but he has. He's fired off hundreds of applications, hundreds of them. He works in film and TV, but he's applied for film and TV jobs, administration jobs, you know, jobs when it comes to working in retail, maybe even like bar staff jobs and things like that. And there's been no luck. He's had interviews, but he's always kind of just never got past that interview stage. I've had work, and I've been really lucky that I had work, and I've been able to keep my skilled work and stay in a profession that I had back home. The pay has been more than I was ever earning, but I haven't felt that because I've had to kind of get by literally just skimping everywhere. We're kind of all up in the air at the minute. It's been a hard year in the sense that James didn't find any work, and that's put a massive kind of financial strain on us and a lot of kind of anxiety around finances. James also, he won't mind me saying this, but he was in this mindset of, I'm not enjoying things here, I need to get back home. I had more work back home. So that's been a massive influence. And the plan was that we were just kind of having to go back home. So we decided to go home, and now James is kind of more in that mindset that he wants to stay. So now I'm kind of like...
James might be willing to stay now.
So James wants to stay. And I'm just like, okay, that's great, but now like we haven't got much time to sort that out. So
we need to get James a job.
Yes.
So if you're watching this and can help, like actually help, not just get in touch and be like, I might be able to help, actually help, do let us know in the comments, and we'll make sure we put you in touch with Jack. Because that would be amazing to be able to keep you guys here and you know, see the rest of what Canada has to offer. So Jack, with the future of your Canadian journey being a little bit up in the air, if you could stay, how would you like it to play out for yourself?
I want to stay, and I hope that my future is in Canada, even if it doesn't go the way I thought it was going to go. You can't always plan for these things, and that's part of the adventure, I guess. If I were to stay, I would like to make sure that we both have work. We have a good place that's a little bit cheaper in rent, move a little bit further out of downtown. And I think we would go into it understanding that the first year is going to be difficult. Your second year is probably going to be a little bit better because a year is a long time to adapt and adjust. And I think maybe that was part of it as well, just adjusting a little bit to the system.
As I finished up my chat with Jack, I realised that mental health can mean different things to different people, especially if you're a newcomer to Canada. Now, I had planned on filming this part of the video with a gorgeous sunset behind me to symbolise the cold conclusion. But alas, Vancouver's weather had other plans. And if this video is all about showing the truth about living here as a newcomer, well, it would be remiss of me to wait for the weather to clear. Regardless of the rain though, if you take nothing else from this video, just know that your mental health is nothing to be embarrassed about. No matter how smooth a journey it seems like someone's had transitioning to their new life, the reality can be very different. Usually, this would be about the time when I wrap this video up in a neat little bow, ask you to subscribe to the channel, and check out today's sponsor, Cigna. And while we really would love you to do both of those things, especially seeing as Cigna have a whole host of resources around mental health for newcomers, the real thing we want you to take away from this video is that moving to a new country can be tough. And no matter how you feel, you shouldn't have to suffer through it. There are always options and resources available to you. Even if that means, like Jack, you've decided that heading home might be the best thing for you. So look after yourself, and don't get afraid to push yourself outside of your comfort zone. This country has a whole lot to offer you. So let's see what's around the corner in the next part of your Canadian journey.
Find a group of people that you can interact with before coming here.
Like if I ever feel down, I'm always that person to reach out to someone and try to express my emotions.
Getting to know your neighbors and people like around you is something like that's pretty easy. People are very friendly and they want to get to know you.
You could find some people that they have same interest, like Sebastian.
It's pretty simple, but I like to listen to podcasts with like people with Irish accents and go for a walk. I just think it's lovely.
That's why you stopped. You just heard an Irish accent. Like, oh, okay, cool, we're on.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, I just think like